hello everyone. My name is Hilman from Surf API. Today we are going to see how to build an AI voice assistant using OpenAI AI assistant with Web Speech API. So we are going to use the Web Speech API as the input and the output voice for our AI assistant, and the Assistance API as the main logic or the main brain. Let's dive in. This is the basic structure of our code. We will split into two different directories for front-end and back-end. From front-end itself, we will have a simple index.html file. First, I'm going to prepare two buttons and the place for the output. So a button for recording and a button for stopping, and one for the output of the text. I will also add a simple styling here. Feel free to copy, or if you want to add your own style, it's up to you. I already run a live server from VS Code, so you will see the change directly here. Now let's add the JavaScript. I'll add a new script here. I'm going to add a basic setup for the Web Speech API that we are going to use. I'll hide it first. Now this is just a basic setup that I copied from the MDN docs. So it's to prepare the speech recognition, speech grammar list, and speech recognition event. We create these two objects. And this is the basic setup for the language and other attributes. Now let's prepare the two events. First for recording and second for stopping the record. Here is for start and here is for stop. And we can also pair the output by looking at the recognition on the result. We run an async function. We get the last transcript and put it on our ID output here as the text content. And we can stop the recording for now. And we can also prepare on speech end to stop the recording. So the recognition is the object that we created from our speech recognition here. Now let's save this. When we try to record the sound, as you can see, there is a sign here that it's recording. And you can see the text that I just said here. We can stop it and try to record once again. Hi, hello, how are you? It will automatically stop when I pause my conversation, and we can already see the text here. It's pretty good so far for the front end part. Let's prepare the backend code. First, I'll move to the backend directory and initialize the project here by running npm init-y, and now we can install all the relevant packages by npm install express course to allow it on frontend, .env to store the API key, and OpenAI package itself. Once it's done, let's create a new index.js file. You can name it whatever you want. Move to my text editor. Now I already have index.js file here. I'll share the basic setup code here to running a simple express route. So this is the setup for express.js and allow the course file. I also create the main route here with the message endpoint to just return the message and running it on the port 3000. Now make sure when you run the index.js file, we have a running port at 3000. We can try this endpoint by running an HTTP client. I will use Thunder already installed on my VS Code. I will create a new request. Feel free to use other tools like Postman, for example. I'll just use Thunder on my VS Code for now. The URL is on localhost 3000 and it's on the message. Make sure the endpoint is post. I'll add the body as a JSON here for our message. Hi. Let's send code, and we already received the hi since we already returned received plus the message itself. So we already checked that our endpoint is running well. Now let's connect the front end and the back end. We are going to visit the onResult method. Currently, we are just outputting the text into the output ID. Now let's add a new method here by adding a new method called sendMessage. We will send the transcript to this sendMessage. It's up to you if you want to stop the recording here or if you want to let it. And now let's declare the sendMessage method. I will prepare it here above this method. So here is my sendMessage method that we pass the message and accept it as the parameter here. We are going to hit this endpoint that we just created on our backend with the post method. And in the JSON format, we will send the message here and we receive the data, console the data, and now I'm going to create a new method called speak, which will dictate the message back for us. So we send the message, we hit the endpoint, receive the data, and dictate the text using the speech synthesis utterance here. I forgot to declare our synthesis variable here, which is just to verify if the current browser porting this synthesis method, which we got from window.speech_synthesis. Now it should be good to go. Let's record once again. Hi, hello, how are you? As you can hear and as you can see, we are hitting our endpoint, which just return the simple message for now, and the browser speak it out loud. Now let's build the main logic here, which will utilize the OpenAI assistants by OpenAI. Make sure to watch my other video if you haven't heard or not familiar with AI assistants by OpenAI before, and create a new env file that consists of this variable OpenAI API key and paste your OpenAI key here. Back to the index.js file, I can set up the OpenAI by requiring the OpenAI package, getting the key, and set it up like this. We've talked about the OpenAI API assistance in the past and its implementation on Node.js. Feel free to take a look at this repository that I already prepared. There is also a blog post if you prefer a step-by-step tutorial. Take a look at the server.js file. We will use this main structure on our code. We won't go through it line by line. The main thing here is each conversation will have a thread ID. So we will create a new thread endpoint on our code, which will use the create thread method to initialize a new thread on the OpenAI. And later, our message should accept a thread ID from our front end, since each conversation must be unique and must have this thread ID. Now I'll prepare the root here. We haven't declared our thread for now, like this. And now on our front end, we will prepare this thread ID as a global variable, which is not a very best practice, but it will do it for now. So we create a thread ID null, and on load, we will access the thread ID. So every time people visit this page on the first time, we'll hit the thread endpoint, which will assign or create a new thread and return the thread ID. Then we can get or grab this thread ID and assign it to this variable. Now, on our send message method, we can pass not just the message, but we can also pass the thread ID. So in the backend, we can also now accept the thread ID on the request body, not just the message itself. Quick reminder, make sure you go to the platform openai.com, go to the assistance tab and create your new assistant, because we will need our assistant ID. So our assistant will have a unique instruction, which in this case, the instruction is your general AI assistant, and since you are a voice assistant, don't speak too much, make it clear and concise. But feel free to pick any model. GPT 3.5 or 4.0 also will do for now. You can click save, and we don't need anything else for now. Make sure to grab your assistant ID because we will need it on our code. We can pass this assistant ID as a const since we won't change it through our code. I will fill the create thread method for now. We are just going to use this simple method, which is beta.threads.create to create the thread ID. We return the whole thread, since on our endpoint we can pick any specific data, which is the ID in this case. Now we will change our addMessage method to accept our thread ID, and now I'm going to run a new method called addMessage. We'll pass the thread ID and the message, and we will run the assistant. The run assistant method will accept the thread ID and will run a polling interval, since by using an assistant ID, the result is not immediate. We will always have to check if it's already finished or not. Let's start from the addMessage method. We will put it below our create thread method here. Now our addMessage method will add a new message to this thread. So it's just like putting the messages into an array. We will create the message here and return the response. Once we have the response from our addMessage, we can run the assistant. Now for our assistant method here, we are running an assistant for this thread ID. We will run with beta.threads.run.create the thread ID, and we will pass the assistant ID. We can also pass an additional instruction, but I try to avoid it since it can change our original instruction. We return the response on run assistant here, but we have one more method to implement, which is the checking status. Since we will be running a polling interval here, and checking if it's already finished or not. Now after the addMessage method and run assistant method, I will add this new variable, polling interval, and also the checking status method, which accept the rest, thread ID, and run ID. Again, if you are not familiar with all this stuff, I just go through it since we already talked about this on our separate video, which is an OpenAI Assistance API. So for the checking status method, we will run and retrieve the results from this thread ID. We are only interested on one conditional status right now, which is completed. Feel free to check the other status as well if you need it. But for now, once it's completed, we can clear the interval. We can add the message to the message list. We get the last message and we can return the message in the message key parameter. So I basically replaced our original return JSON here. Since I'm passing the response here, now I'm able to return the whole response from this method once it's finished. So that's the preparation for our backend. For now, we update our index.js file, so we need to rerun it. Of course, assistant ID is not defined for now. You need to paste your original assistant's ID here. Once you paste your correct assistant ID on assistant's ID variable, which you got from the platform.openai.com when you created the assistant. Now let's rerun our server. It's running on port 3000 on our browser. See if anything wrong. As you can see on my original reload, I will try it once again. It will hit the thread endpoint automatically with the get method, and it will return the thread ID. Since we have this onload method, which accesses our thread endpoint here. So we already have the thread ID to use for each of our message. Now I'm going to record a new voice here. Hi, how are you? As you can hear, it returns the message, I'm doing well, thank you, how can I assist you today? So the assistant is smart enough to answer my question. Now I'm going to make sure that this AI assistant can understand the context or previous conversation. Hi, my name is Hill. I live in Indonesia.
Hello, Gil. Nice to meet you. How can I assist you today?
Now I'm going to ask something about Indonesia without explicitly saying it. Do you know something about my country?
Yes, Indonesia is a Southeast Asian country known for its diverse culture, thousands of islands like Bali.
So, as you can see, I'm just saying, do you know about my country? The chatbot remember that my country or I come from Indonesia, so they continue with the explanation of Indonesia. So it's a proof that this is an assistant. It's not just one of conversation, but it can remember our previous conversation. Our AI is running perfectly well, but one thing I don't like is currently the UX. I only see my latest message on this output. What I want is it shows like a chat box. So I should update my send message method once I have the data. I'm not just going to console it, but I'm going to create a new paragraph and put it on my output with the insert.json HTML method. But not just this, I will also need it on my recognition on result method. I'm going to change this into this as well. So we are going to keep creating a new paragraph for each of our conversation. In console, okay, transcript is not defined. I try to put the transcript on here, which should get the data from message, not from transcript. Click save. Hi, I'm Hill from Indonesia. I'm not sure what to eat.
How about trying some traditional Indonesian dishes like...
Perfect. So as you can see, now it acts like a chatbot or a chat box where we can see the previous conversation, and it will just edit to the top. If you notice from my latest conversation, I was actually saying my name here, which is HIL. I'm here from Indonesia. I also noticed during several tests that the web speech API is not perfectly recognized what I'm saying. There are other alternatives, like for example, Assembly AI. OpenAI itself have a Whisper API, and also for the audio or the voice generation, we are also not limited by the synthesis API from web speech API, but we can use the Whisper API again, and also something like 11 Labs, which is more popular. So that's it. I hope you like it. Feel free to try.